Support for Steppin Out comes in part from the Kristovich family in honor of Mary Lou and Bill Kristovich.
I'm Peggy Scott Laborde, and welcome to Steppin Out, spotlighting the New Orleans area's arts and entertainment scene. And seated at our table tonight, Daniel Hammer, Deputy Director of the Historic New Orleans Collection. Good to see you again.
Thanks, Peggy.
With some
Thanks
exciting news, so I'll let that be a cliffhanger. Okay. Poppy Tooker, host of the radio program Louisiana Eats, airing twice weekly on WWNO Radio. Hello.
Hi, Peg.
And making her Steppin Out debut, Ellen LeMaire, General Manager of the NOPSI Hotel on Baronne Street. And if that sounds familiar, that's where you used to pay your public service bill, darling. So we're very excited to talk about the 1 year now transformation of their building. And Steppin Out theater critic Alan Smason of theatercriticism.com. But first up, yay, Poppy, I've been asking you, culinary restaurant deals.
Peggy, you make me want to sing. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It certainly is, I know, for you and me, because this is the time of year that you can afford to eat out in New Orleans anywhere at such a bargain price. It's Culinary. Culinary, this is their 8th year. It seems like it's been going on forever. It kicks off on August the 1st. And I counted, and if I'm correct, I believe there are over 111 different restaurants participating this year.
So it's done kicked.
It's big, and it's 2- and 3-course lunches for $20 or less, and dinner, 3 courses for $39 or less, and some have some really great deals for a few extra dollars. Now, some of them are just continuing summer specials that we've already covered, like Reginelli's we talked about last week, and the Fountain Lounge we talked about previously, but you just need to spend some time on their website to get an idea. You'll get very hungry on the website. And Antoine's, you know, they've been running that $20.18 lunch special all summer, but now they've got a dinner for $39, and their brunch is $37. So great deals at Antoine's.
The lunch is what, 1920?
No, it's 20. No, it's 2018.
2018.
Everybody's got a gimmick. You're thinking of Broussard.
That's a deal.
That's their gimmick.
$20.18 for lunch.
At Antoine's.
We've done that.
At Antoine's.
Yeah.
So then I love Avo, sweet, fabulous little restaurant on Magazine Street. Their dinner is a great deal at $37, but it's a point of look at the website, because they're not serving Culinary on Friday nights and Saturday nights. Now, one of my picks, what I've done is I went through the menus, and, you know, I just am going to order what I'd eat. And I love Bar Francis. They have done a little redo in there, and they've got a new, much warmer look. Their relatively new chef, Marcus Woodham, absolutely rocks his culinary menu. First courses, check this out. Smoked beef tallow, arugula, and grilled baguette. Mussels with pistachio pesto, shaved summer squash salad. And then for the entree, how about hanger steak with chimichurri, fries, and aioli, braised lamb shoulder with rigatoni, roasted garlic, and a poached egg, and seared gulfish with campanata. Love that eggplant campanata. And for dessert, a lemon and thyme pot de creme. It sounds
you don't
so
see
lovely.
campanata on
Not
a menu.
much, and that menu's only $37. That's a little cheaper. Then I also really love the food at Boucherie. And so over on Carrollton Avenue, you can have a 3-course lunch for $20, dinner for $39. On the lunch menu, crispy duck skin confit with shaved squash purslane salad, fresh ricotta, pickled chard, oil-cured olives, and tortilla croutons. I mean, that's what I love about these menus, is it's not just like they're cheap, old, tired favorites they're hauling out. They're doing, some of these restaurants, really creative, special things. At dinner, you can have their charcuterie plate or the hamachi sashimi with house-fermented kimchi. And then, of course, if you're at Boucherie, you're likely to have Krispy Kreme bread pudding for dessert. And it's always so elegant and lovely to go to the
beautiful dining room.
Oh, that is,
Yeah.
but so is the dining room at the grill room.
Oh, yeah.
I love going to the Windsor Court. And lunch there is $19.84. And it's 2 courses, but you've got 6 entrees to pick from, 3 additional sides that you choose from a list of over a dozen. There's $2 martinis. You're limited to 3. Be careful with that. And $7 on really great wines and some champagne. And then for dinner, it's 3 courses for $39, and they've got great upcharge treats like foie gras with seared yellowfin tuna that you can just add on. Then the last one I want to mention is a dear old favorite, Pascal Manalli's. You know, last summer I was working on the book. We were doing food photography, and so I had a hand in their culinary last year because they resurrected their crab and cauliflower au gratin, which is so delicious, and it's in the cookbook. That's not on the menu this year, but their 3-course lunch, which is just $18. I'm going to order the mushroom ravioli with crab meat Alfredo sauce. And they have a 3-course dinner for $36, and it is filled with old favorites like caprese salad and veal Oscar. Just lovely, lovely, lovely experience.
And the cookbook's coming out when?
October.
Okay.
Before we know it. You'll
I
be
know
so sick of it soon. Don't worry.
That's okay. Never, ever, ever, ever. So Daniel, of the Historic New Orleans collection, of course, with this, I guess we would use the word campus, the many campuses, all the great buildings at the collection all around the quarter. But this time around, you all have really kind of come together with other wonderful house museums to do something to kind of promote more attendance. House museums, generally around the country are kind of, the attendance is down. So you all are doing something locally, aren't you?
We are, and it's really about the French Quarter and making of it what we want it to be. I think the French Quarter is probably New Orleans' most famous neighborhood. You'd be hard-pressed to find somebody who knows New Orleans who isn't familiar with the French Quarter. But people think of it as different things. For some people, it's a beautiful place. For some people, it's a dirty place. For some people, it's a place to learn about history. For some people, it's a place to party. What it also is, and what a lot of us know, and what we want even more people to know, is that it's one of this country's greatest museum districts. There's really an incredible inventory of museums, history museums and house museums, like you were saying, located within less than a single square mile in the French Quarter, which is itself, of course, a museum, if you will, as a very intact historic space. And so the nonprofit museums of the French Quarter have all come together, and we formed a group. We're calling it the French Quarter Museum Association, and we have a visitor center at 533 Royal Street,
Which is part of the
Historic New Orleans Collection. And it will be there through the end of the tricentennial year. So we're really using the occasion of this important commemorative moment, 300 years of history in New Orleans, to use it as a springboard into a future where more and more people think of the French Quarter as a place to come to museums and experience all they have to offer.
Well, you can spend days, of course.
Yeah.
You could visit, starting with the HNOC right there in Royal. You could visit the Williams residence, Mr. and Mrs. Kemper Williams in the back. But you also have free exhibits in the front, and of course having to do with the tricentennial these days. But then not too far, you could go to the Pharmacy Museum or the Bourg Archives. I mean, it's a dozen. We counted a dozen.
A dozen buildings. So we've got the collection itself, which includes the buildings at 533 Royal Street and the buildings at 410 Charter Street, where our research center and additional exhibition galleries are. We'll be opening an additional building at 520 Royal Street soon, but that's not part of the program right now.
Channel 6,
That's
yes.
right. Then there's the Beauregard Kai's house, which you mentioned, on Charter Street, and across the street from there is the Ursuline Convent, which is actually part of the Catholic Cultural Heritage Center, which includes the St. Louis Cathedral and St. Anthony's Garden. Then you also have the Louisiana State Museum properties, the Cabildo and the Presbytere, as well as the 1850 house on Jackson Square. And then you have the New Orleans Jazz Museum, and then at the U.S. Mint. And then coming back down to the uptown side of the quarter, you've got the New Orleans Pharmacy Museum, which I think you mentioned also. And then finally, the Herman Grimm and Gallier historic houses, the Herman Grimm house in the 800 block of St. Louis Street, right between Bourbon and Dauphine, and then the Gallier House, which is on Royal Street.
What's really interesting about them, which are paired together, is with Herman Grimma's life in the 1830s and 40s, and then Gallier is just a little bit later than that, too.
Right, yeah, you know, they're so, you know,
1850s.
when you think about it, it's only about 40 to 50 years between them, but the difference in lifestyle and the difference in well, just the way the city was functioning at the time and everything about the population of the city is dramatic. So
I love house
very different
museums,
museums.
and I have to also say I love gift shops too. And there are a lot of great gift shops in some of those
Yeah,
places
all of us-
too.
all of us
Y'all
have
have a
our
great
gift
one at
shops.
5:30.
Thank you, yeah.
At 533 Royal. But once again, the website is
FreshQuarterMuseums.com. You can learn about all of the participating museums there. And if you come visit us at the Visitor Center at 533 Royal, we'll tell you all about each of the properties and we'll give you a fan. And if you visit 5 of the properties with your fan, you'll get a free dessert at Dickie Brennan's Tableau Restaurant.
Now,
that's a good deal.
is
Which is
a
pretty
deal.
nice. That's a pretty good deal. Indeed.
And a totally separate event is it's Museum Month, and so if you're a member of the New Orleans Museum of Art or the D-Day Museum, if you show one membership, you get to go to a lot of the other
That's right.
museums
That's
too.
right.
So this is the time.
Yep.
Indeed, this is the month for it. And I know your exhibit right now at the Historic New Orleans Collection once again continues in your tricentennial mode.
Well, we just reopened our Louisiana History Galleries, which is really a very important exhibition of some of the treasures from our collection, talking about the diverse history of Louisiana from its, when it was first a dream in the eyes of some European colonists, to through its entire history, characterized by the contributions of all people who were from here and were brought here and who came here, and through into the present day. So that exhibit was closed since January, as we had different exhibits in that space, but we've reopened it. And so I think it's a great way to continue celebrating and commemorating the tricentennial of New Orleans,
Absolutely.
is to visit the
And that's free.
refurbished history
And that's
galleries.
free, isn't it?
Free
Yeah.
and open to the
some
public.
of the other,
yes.
the house museums, of
Yeah.
course, have some nominal fees, but that's a really great deal. Thank you
Yes.
very much. Yeah. And New Orleans Magazine's quiz queen, Julia Street, has a question for us. Last time, Dana Walken gave us the names of 2 North Broad Street steakhouses, one of which still stands on Broad. The answers are Ruth's Chris and Crescent City Steakhouse, still on Broad. Now tonight's question. Name 2 local specialty coffee drinks. One made with orange liquor. I know Alex Mason's like gonna, he knows. The other with hot milk. Email your answers to steppinout@wis.org. Our prizes: a year subscription to Louisiana Life magazine, a t-shirt with Louis Satchmo Armstrong in time for this weekend's Satchmo Fest in the Quarter from our friends at wearablevegetables.com, and a pair of free admission passes to either the Audubon Zoo, Aquarium of the Americas, or the Butterfly Garden and Insectarium. You can go to WYS.org for our online calendar to see our lineup of events, including Armand St. Martin performing at Trinity Episcopal Church early Sunday evening. You can also link to our WYS YouTube channel to see our program. Now, Ellen, so many of us that building on Barone remember going to pay their NOPSI bill or public service, which today, of course, is Entergy, but then they had, of course, the transportation, RTA, and the electric company all together. You all did an incredible, we'll be showing images, job of taking that headquarters over. How many years in the making was that?
Oh, it was a number of years. They came in to restore, right, and refurbish, so that had to go. The building was vacant since the late 1980s.
Really?
Yes.
I had no idea.
So
Okay.
number of years. So a little cleanup needed. She looks good though.
Oh, yeah.
She came
Good.
back and she
Beautiful.
looks a lot better.
And you all have really retained a lot of the historic look of the lobby and the public space. Look at that.
We
and those
have.
cove ceilings. It's
We
so
have.
pretty.
So anyone who was there before, who remembers walking in, paying
Sure.
bills.
And there's the restaurant.
The ceiling,
Yeah.
the ceiling is the same. The sconces, all replicated. We have the same transaction table right in the same location.
And we've got the ballroom.
so
Yes, that's a great, the
the-
ballroom. Explain what that was. I
Okay,
think
so
that's
this was Dryad's building. So there was an alleyway between NOPSI and Dryad's where trucks came over. They brought transformers that were broken, that needed to be fixed, came through a little brick square where you can see it when you go into our ballroom. And a large crane came over, picked it up, and it got fixed.
You can still
the crane
see
is there.
The crane.
The
and
original
the
crane
system.
is there.
It is so interesting, and that's your ballroom.
It's beautiful, and we put what we call diamond earrings for NOPSI on dryads. So you have a crane, and then you've got a beautiful chandeliers.
I got a tour of the building, and I saw some of the rooms. And what I love is the fact that you all know about the heritage, and there are some photos. There's a little photo exhibit, a memorabilia exhibit downstairs, including a lab coat from a chemist from NOPSI. And this was. Do you remember the recipes? You could get the free recipes.
Sure.
You were using electricity. You know, please use
Right.
so I remember those, and Rider's Digest, which of course used to be the little booklet when you were taking a bus ride. But the lab coat, it turns out, our friend Sharon Snowdy's dad was a chemist at NOPSI, and that's hanging in the lobby as well. But in one of the rooms, I wanted to mention, you all have art of streetcars.
We do. We do.
So I love that nod.
It's tying in the transportation. Our theme's certainly energy, so we have Above the Grid as our rooftop bar. Public Service is the restaurant, and Undercurrent is our patio and lobby bar. So the theme of energy.
It's been a year?
We just turned a year. We just turned a
remember.
year. So
I remember
NOPSI will be 91 this year, and we have just turned a year as the new NOPSI.
Well, congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Delighted you're here to talk about that.
Yeah.
And now it is time, though, for our Artist Spotlight. We are featuring the work of several artists featured in LeMaire Gallery's first ever juried group show. Michael Deese and Jan Gilbert, wonderful artists. They were the judges. This is Mid-Century Cat Lady by Melanie Munns Antonelli. Here's Faces of War by Laura Scott Bell, very compelling. This is Air Conditioned, love that, by Tom Bennett. Here's Sentimental Tall Surrounding by Maisie Urbichinzola. And finally, this is amazing, The Transference of Maria from Metropolis, based on, of course, the scary film by Doug Waterfield. The opening reception will be held this Saturday during the Hancock Whitney White Linen Night. The exhibit runs through September 29th. The winning artist will receive a solo show at LeMaire Galleries in 2020. Now, Alan.
Well, normally I'm in New York at this time of year to review the latest musicals and occasional plays on the Great White Way, but there was no way I was going to miss Summer Lyric at Tulane's fantastic regional premiere of Newsies. And I want to tell you that this phenomenal show, which has music by Alan Menken, lyrics by Jack Feldman, and a book by Harvey Fierstein, is not to be missed. Now, when it was a Disney movie originally back in the early 90s, it developed quite a cult-like following, especially among the young ladies, because it has a cast of young men, of course. Whether young or old, girls or boys, there's much to admire in this show because it really has high energy throughout it. Directed by Diane Lala, the show rocks the house at Dixon Hall. Alex Stone plays the lead role of Jack Kelly. He's the leader of the striking Newsies, or the newspaper boys before the turn of the last century. And then standing right up to him, toe to toe, singing note for note, lovely and talented Meredith Owens, who plays her role of female reporter Catherine Plummer, with charm and grace and just really wonderfully magnificent voice. Also, very nice work done by Jessica Mixon as Meta Larkin. Now, with Newsies, you'll come for the singing, but you'll be amazed by the dancing. I mean, amazing. Diane knocks this one out of the park. Diane Lala, who directed this, and again, some help, I think, from the dance captain, who actually took direction from her, Jeanne Buisson, who's in Newsies as well. She has a couple of little smaller roles, and you'll see her occasionally popping up. There's acrobatic flips and tap dance routines and strong ensemble routines throughout the entire mix. Still photography really doesn't do justice to this show. It really is a wonderful, entirely across the board, fantastic mix of singing and dancing. Some of the songs remind me a little bit of an American Les Miserables, if you will. I mean, they really are powerful songs, marching along as they try to right the right, if you will, because they're going to have their newspaper costs go up just slightly. So anyway.
But based on a true story.
It is, of course, absolutely. So again, Newsies, a great feel-good piece, great performances by so many people, including John Fitzpatrick as Crutchy and Rob Pavlovich as Joseph Pulitzer. And also, I'd like to give a little occasional shout out to Ken Good and Keith Clavery, who do a number of different roles. They're changing costumes constantly throughout the entire thing.
I have to say, Bob Pavlovich used to be on radio here.
course.
I know he teaches now in Cincinnati.
Right, exactly.
But his golden tone, sometimes he subs for WWNO folks, like when he's here.
Right.
But he was so good in Ragtime, too.
He was, yeah.
Just a nod. He's
Yes,
doing
he
two
played
shows.
father in Ragtime.
Yes.
But one of the other things is, of course, he's married to Diane Lala, so, of course, a little bit of nepotism, but it's okay.
If you're talented, Dawn. If you're talented.
But one thing I will tell you is that Alex Stone, this is the first time he's been down here. He plays the lead role, of course. He is at the University of Cincinnati, where Diane teaches, and Rob is also on the as an adjunct faculty member. So again, word of mouth on this show is really huge. If you want to get tickets now, because they're going to be difficult to get, there are only a few performances left between now and Sunday. Don't miss this edition. Now, last week I had a chance to see Annie Baker's The Aliens. That's at Pralines by Jean on St. Charles Avenue, and it's supposed to take place in the Green Sheep, if you will. I'm not quite sure. They came up with this coffee house idea, and of course it's at Pralines by Jean. Again, the terms about this that I might best use to describe it might be absurdist, modernist, and maybe experimental, because all of the characters are somewhat lost. The characters are looking for purpose in their lives. Baker was famously awarded the Pulitzer Prize for a later work she did called The Flick, was about cinematic workers cleaning up popcorn, and there were passages where she put down 10 minutes of cleaning up popcorn, and you had to watch 10 minutes of them cleaning up popcorn. So she has this sort of interesting approach to theater in which the spaces in there of silence are very important to her as much as the speaking and the dialogue. There are parts where they're maintained for a long period of time, and again, so I would tell you, there are several characters in here who are very good. I mean, of course, some of the usual, I guess, people that you might expect. We have in here Christopher Robinson and Jordan Kaplan, very, very good performances. But there's one I wanted to mention, newcomer Connor Doremus as Evan Shelmerdine. Again, that's his name in there. And he plays sort of a young kid who's very influenced by these other sort of geniuses in their own right. But again, they're very much a part of this higher level of consciousness that they seem to have, and intelligence, where they sort of feed off of each other for each other's gratification, but also to sort of make themselves feel important in the world. It's a David Williams directed. Amelie Zox also was an assistant director on this piece, and I have to say that it is somewhat intriguing. I found it very cute, colorful at times, very, very humorous at times, but it is something that it is not for everyone. It will grow on you maybe, and then maybe not. So those of you are forewarned.
Something different.
You know, it's not that expensive, you know, and they only have 25 seats per night. So again, I think that they will fill it, and the interesting part about it again is the setting is perfect for that. So I hope that everybody gets a chance to see it. Now, speaking of two ladies that we all know and love from New Orleans, Becky Allen and Amanda Hebert are starring in a Ricky Graham piece called Darlin' and Hart. And of course, Darlin's got to be Becky Allen, and Hart's got to be Amanda Hebert. And they're going to be joined also on stage by special guest Jody Borello. So, you know, of course, she's a comedian, and I think that this is going to be an opportunity for a lot of people at the Bayou Playhouse to go check them out. Now, they have not had a lot of big shows at the Bayou Playhouse, of course, since the departure of Perry Martin, but they are trying to do a few things.
It's a nice space, too.
It's a beautiful space.
You know, the seats are the old seats from the Sanger.
Exactly. When Perry saw that they were on the street, he said, I've got to get those, because they were doing renovations and renovating the Sanger at that time. And so he picked them up. So yes, you can have a little piece of memorabilia that you can sit on if you want to. So that pretty much that's it. Now, I believe that there's also one other thing I want to mention. Next week, I think we're going to have a performance too. Are we not?
By St. John, yes.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to you know, seeing this weekend this Vieux Carré. I'm looking forward to seeing that. So those of you who are going to have a chance to see it this weekend, I won't be able to be here next weekend with y'all, but I will a couple of weeks. But those of you should know that the Tennessee Williams Theater Company is doing a Vieux Carré, which is one of Tennessee Williams, I would say, you know, one of his top 5 works at least, and one that's really specific to New Orleans and very important.
Thank you, Alan, because I think it's very underappreciated.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And actually, it takes place, the setting of 722 Toulouse, which is one of the properties of the Historic New Orleans
That's
Collection.
right. Tennessee Williams had an apartment there.
Yes.
That's correct.
But
So this
he
goes back to around
references that.
1938 or so when he first came to New Orleans. And Mrs. Wires, based on an actual lady who was there, Tracy Collins is going to play that role. I just can't wait to see this. And I think that, you know, they do great work. Nick Shackelford and Augustin Carrero, both are the artistic directors there. They really really are true to the Tennessee Williams's, the love that he put into those characters, and they really try to bring them out as much as they can. And this is going to be the Marigny Opera House too. So
and they're going to be with us next week.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Now time for our picks. Daniel.
My pick of the week is, of course, a great program at the Historic New Orleans Collection. It's hot out there, and I know we all think we can't live without our air conditioning, but air conditioning is just a modern invention, and we've been around a long time, and it hasn't always been AC. So we have a talk coming up on August 18th at 10 a.m., Keeping It Cool, Historic Ways to Beat the Heat. Now, this is a members-only event, so you have to be a member of the Historic New Orleans Collection to attend.
Very much.
But memberships start at $35 a year. There are all sorts of great benefits like these types of programs. And so I encourage everyone to join and come and see us on August 18th.
Okay, thank you, Poppy.
Well, tickets went on sale this week for Emerald Lagasse Foundation's Boudin Bourbon and Beer 2018. 70 chefs, Boudin dishes, beer, spirits, and music. It's November 9th. And Guy Fieri is his new co-chair, because one of the chefs, he who shall not be mentioned, is no longer his co-chair. So.
Ellen.
I will say the pick of the week is Sunday Swim Society at NOPSI at Above the Grid. So speaking of air conditioning and getting out of the heat, take a dip in our pool at Above the Grid. You come up, it's $25, but if you join us as a NOPSI neighbor, which we'd love for you to, you pay $18, and you can maybe dabble in some of our snow spirits, which is our spin on snow cones or snowballs. Snow in New Orleans.
I was looking for a pool, of course. Thank you. Alan.
Well, Mary Poppins Jr. is going to be playing in probably the nicest house for a children's play ever, which is at the Jefferson Performing Arts Center. And again, if you get a chance, it's going to be through August the 15th. Again, tickets are starting at $15. That's at 6400 Airline Drive, so hopefully you make it out there.
All right, thank you. My picks. This year's Jefferson Parish Library Literary Festival is this Saturday, tomorrow, at the East Bank Regional Library in Metairie. Susan Larson will speak at 9:30 a.m. and Dr. Patricia Brady at 11 a.m. Also, in conjunction with Hancock White Linen Night, the Whitney White Linen Night that is, you can meet artist Jim Blanchard, who was with us a few weeks ago at the Ogden Museum of Southern Art on Camp Street during White Linen Night and view his artwork, and he'll be there, so he'll talk to you about it. Looking ahead, there's cocktails in the courtyard next Tuesday at the Degas House on Esplanade Avenue, free and open to the public with live music and hors d'oeuvres. Register at neworleanschamber.org. Not to be confused with cocktails in the courtyard of the Historic New Orleans Collection sometimes too.
Well, sometimes.
Sometimes. And of course, that's next Friday night. Let's look ahead. Next Friday night, the New Orleans Jazz Museum will be holding an Afro classical music and military celebration featuring music by Dede, Gottschalk, and Professor Longhair, among many. Tickets can be purchased at eventbrite.com. Looking ahead, world-famous New Orleans-born tenor Brian Hemel and others will perform next Saturday a week at A Taste of Music, Au Soleil, Vino Soleil, at the Crossing, Vino Soleil, I should say, on Williams Boulevard in Kenner. Tickets include a selection of gourmet wine pairings with each aria in the program. Visit Opus Opera's website to get your ticket. Thank you all so very much. Thank you all for being with us. Good night.